They weren't famous, they weren't beautiful, and most people don't even know they existed. Hidden in old factories and forgotten yards are machines that look like they came from another world. A three-wheeled tractor built to replace a horse. A van made from corrugated steel because post-war Europe was short on materials. A truck that could drive off a ship, swim, then climb a beach. These weren't concept cars. They were working vehicles, built for jobs that have changed or disappeared. Today we uncover 10 strange classic trucks and workhorses so rare, so specialized, history nearly erased them. But understanding them means understanding design philosophy, because every odd truck on this list solved the real problem that nobody else had figured out yet. Ready? 1. Scammell Mechanical Horse. Here's where it starts. The 1930s, British Railways, and a very specific problem. Depot workers needed a motor vehicle that could replace horse-drawn delivery work, but keep horses' biggest advantage, fast trailer swapping in tight yards. The London and Northeastern Railway approached engineer Napier with that problem. Napier passed. The project landed with Scammell, where designer O.D. North saw something nobody else did: mechanized coupling as the centerpiece. In 1934, the mechanical horse arrived. It wasn't a normal lorry. It was a three-wheeled tractor unit engineered around a coupling system that let you back into a trailer and lock it in seconds. The trailer's undercarriage and coupling were designed so the tractor could lift and secure it while reversing. Drivers still had small manual tasks, releasing the trailer handbrake, fitting the registration plate, but the heavy coupling work was mechanized. It came in two common sizes, a 3-ton and a 6-ton, both powered by Scammell's own side-valve petrol engines. Early examples used wooden cabs and even canvas doors. With a 16-foot trailer, it turned in a circle roughly 19 feet across. Road speed was about 20 miles per hour, exactly right for local depot work. Railway companies became major users, but private firms and the armed forces ran them too. Why did the mechanical horse matter? Because it proved that constraints don't kill design, they sharpen it. You don't just shrink a normal truck, you rethink the entire job. 2. Scammell Scarab. After World War II, the mechanical horse concept still worked, but the original tractor was outdated. Enter the Scarab in 1948. Production ran until 1967. What stayed the same? The mission: rapid trailer exchange in tight yards. What changed? Everything else. The tractor was fundamentally redesigned. The frame cranked down. The engine, gearbox, and rear axle became one unit mounted low behind the cab. Even the radiator sat at the cab's back wall, fed by ducting. That low center of gravity improved stability dramatically compared to the original. It used a 2,090 cubic centimeter petrol engine in both the 3-ton and 6-ton models, with Perkins diesel options appearing later. The new rounded steel cab replaced the old wooden one, and comfort improved noticeably. But here's what makes this interesting. The Scarab name is widely assumed to come from the beetle-like nose. Wrong. It's documented as a portmanteau of Scammell and Arab, pointing directly back to the horse it replaced. Design thinking shifted because the role stayed constant, but the world around it changed. The Scarab survived because it didn't try to be something else. It stayed focused on depot work and got better at it. Why did the Scarab endure? Because specialization beats generalization when you're solving for one specific job. 3. Citroen Type H. When the Type H arrived in 1947, it looked like industrial equipment that had escaped onto the road. Corrugated steel sides, flat panels, stubborn refusal to look fashionable. That wasn't style, that was problem solving. Corrugation stiffened thin metal when post-war materials and budgets were scarce. Engineering necessity became the truck's signature. Technically, the Type H was unusual for its era because it paired front-wheel drive with a unitary body structure. That combination created something impossible with other designs: a flat load floor close to the ground and genuine usable cargo space. A period report highlights the floor being near level with the curb and notes the sliding side door as pure practicality. Load it, access it quickly, move on. Production ran 1947 to 1981. That's 34 years, with roughly 473,000 units built. The body proved so practical that it spawned countless adaptations: ambulances, mobile shops, service vehicles. Some are still working today, which says everything about the fundamental design. Why did the Type H survive? Because flat floors and sliding doors aren't exciting. They're just useful, and useful outlasts fashionable. 4. Bedford CA. Britain's post-war streets produced their own peculiar designs. The Bedford CA, built 1952 to 1969 in Luton, is instantly recognizable by its pug nose. That face wasn't cute, it was compact architecture. The short hood maximized interior space while keeping the overall truck length manageable. This was a light commercial for ordinary businesses. It came in short and long wheelbase versions, rated 10 to 12 cw wheat or 15 cwt. Most people picture it as a panel van, but it also sold as a chassis cowl, letting specialists add custom bodies for conversions and service work. That flexibility pushed it into roles far beyond basic delivery. It became the base for the famous Bedford Dormobile camper conversion, which gave a generation of British travelers their first taste of road camping. Around 370,000 were built across its production run. That number matters. It wasn't flashy, it wasn't revolutionary, but it was affordable, dependable, and adaptable enough that families, businesses, and adventurers all claimed it. Why does the Bedford CA matter? Because sometimes the best design is the one that says yes to everything. 5. GMC DUKW. Some vehicles break categories entirely. The DUKW is a truck and a boat at the same time, born from World War II's ugliest problem. How do you move supplies from offshore ships to fighting units on beaches when ports are destroyed or don't exist? It's an amphibious adaptation of the 2.5-ton GMCCWK family, produced 1942 to 1945. Encyclopedia Britannica describes its brutal simplicity. Ferry ammunition, supplies, and equipment from supply ships to beachheads. The role was clear. The design had to solve it. Around 21,147 were built. The DUKW was never perfect as a pure truck or pure boat. In the space between sea and land, it was invaluable. Drive out of the ship, swim, climb onto shore, deliver cargo. That's the entire job. After the war, many survived in civilian roles, especially duck tour operations, where they found a second life ferrying tourists instead of soldiers. Why does the DUKW still fascinate? Because it succeeded not by being versatile, but by being precisely engineered for the impossible space between two worlds. 6. GM Futurliner. This is the most theatrical truck on the entire list. The Futureliners were built by General Motors for the Parade of Progress, a traveling show that brought science and technology displays to the public. 12 were built. 12. They were enormous, roughly 33 feet long and more than 11 feet tall. GM constructed them in 1940, toured them starting in 1941, stored them during World War II, then restored and returned them to the road in 1953. This wasn't a bus. This was a mobile exhibition hall on wheels. The historic American engineering record documented them extensively. Futureliner number 10 and its siblings traveled to nearly 200 cities across the United States and Canada. They drew 11 million attendees across their active years. The side doors opened into a stage. The interior held exhibits. People queued to step inside and see the future, a truck that carried dreams instead of cargo. Production lasted from 1940 through the mid-1950s, making them rarer than most classic cars. Only a handful survive today, and they remain almost unreal when you see them. Too large, too ornate, too committed to a single impossible vision. Why do the Futureliners endure in memory? Because they prove that sometimes engineering serves wonder, not just function. 7. Rotinoff Atlantic. If you want true, forgotten monster energy, this is it. Rotinoff Motors was a specialist heavy haulage company founded by George Rotinoff at Colnbrook, Berkshire. They didn't build trucks for normal jobs. The GR7 Atlantic appears in a 1955 road test as designed for loads up to 140 tons gross weight. The engine was a Rolls-Royce 250 horsepower supercharged diesel, specifically a Rolls-Royce C6 SFL. That engine alone was more powerful than most trucks on the road. The same 1955 test describes the Atlantic hauling a disabled Centurion tank on a multi-wheeled trailer. Picture that, a truck so engineered for extreme loading that it could move a 50-ton tank like it was cargo. This wasn't marketing, this was documented capability. Production numbers are tiny, just 35 were built in total. Every single one was engineered for a specific heavy haul job that probably only existed once. The Rotinoff represents an entire era when trucks were purpose-built machines rather than standardized platforms. Why does Rotinoff matter? Because it shows what happens when you engineer for extremes instead of volume. 8. Marmon-Herrington conversions. Before factory 4x4 trucks existed, some of the most capable off-road workhorses started life as ordinary vehicles. Then Marmon Marmon-Herrington transformed them. Founded in 1931, Marmon-Herrington became known for converting other manufacturers' trucks, especially Ford, into all-wheel drive machines. The process was efficient. Buyers ordered through Ford dealers, who routed trucks to Marmon-Herrington's Indianapolis facility for conversion, then shipped them for delivery. Converted trucks suddenly gained serious traction years before major manufacturers offered factory 4x4 options across their ranges. The U.S. Army bought substantial numbers of these conversions leading up to and during World War II. That military adoption mattered because it proved concept. Take a proven platform, add capability, and you've built something genuinely useful for extreme conditions. These conversions were strange because they looked familiar until you noticed the extra driveline hardware and the places they could suddenly go. They represented a bridge era when military innovation led manufacturing innovation, not the other way around. Why do Marmon-Herrington conversions matter? Because they show how specialization and adaptation can outpace factory production. 9. Tatra 111. If Western trucks evolved one way, Tatra evolved differently. The Tatra 111 was produced 1942 to 1962, beginning as a wartime heavy-duty truck and emerging as a major post-war workhorse across Eastern Europe and beyond. Its signature feature is the Tatra design philosophy. Backbone tube chassis with swing half-axles. That architecture creates strength and off-road capability. Pair it here with an air-cooled V12 diesel, the V910 family. Air cooling matters because it avoids coolant freezing or boiling. No radiator failures in Siberian cold or desert heat. That engineering philosophy continues in Tatra trucks even today. Early variants used wooden cab structures because of wartime material constraints. This only adds to its built by different rules character. Around 34,000 were produced, making it more common than the Rotinoff, but rarer than most Western trucks. Post-war, Tatras became the standard across Eastern Bloc rebuilding programs. They hauled cargo, rebuilt infrastructure, and proved the design's fundamental soundness. The engine and chassis survived conditions that would destroy competing trucks. Why does the Tatra 111 endure? Because it was engineered for persistence, not convenience. 10. Leyland Octopus. Long before modern articulated trucks dominated heavy haulage, Britain explored a different answer. Add axles, spread weight, increase payload. The Leyland Octopus is one of the defining 8-wheeled rigids of that philosophy. The British Commercial Vehicle Museum dates its introduction to 1935 and notes that the model developed for decades. A 1935 show report describes the layout plainly. Steered on 4 front bogie wheels, drove through 4 rear bogie wheels. It was shown with a Leyland 8.6-liter diesel engine and a chassis weight just under 6 tons. Today it looks almost prehistoric. A single rigid frame with 8 wheels, built for an era when engineers chased capacity by adding wheels instead of adding articulated trailers. It was never the most efficient design, but it worked. It carried cargo. It proved the concept. The Octopus represents a dead end in truck evolution, but that dead end is precisely why it matters. Engineers explored it seriously, built thousands, and only abandoned it when better solutions emerged. That's how design actually works, through experimentation, not prophecy. Why close with the Octopus? Because it shows that dead ends are still part of the story. Strange trucks aren't random. They represent choices. Choices about the jobs they needed to do, the materials available, the regulations they faced, the maintenance culture they were born into. Understand those choices, and every weird truck design becomes instantly logical. A mechanical horse isn't a compromise. It's a solution engineered for depot coupling. A Scarab isn't just an upgrade. It's the refinement of a philosophy. A duck isn't strange. It's precisely engineered for the impossible space between sea and shore. But here's what matters most. These trucks are still out there, still working, still proving that great design doesn't age. The problem it solved doesn't disappear. The engineering insight doesn't become less true just because newer trucks exist. Next time you see one of these machines rolling down the highway, still carrying cargo, still real, still working, look closer. Don't just see metal and rubber. See the engineering decisions behind it. See what the builders prioritized. See the era they represent. See the problem they solved first. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more deep dives into automotive engineering and the trucks that changed everything.